When I was a kid, I had to keep the peace. I was the underdog. I was the smallest, and I was the kid who wasn't fully wanted. The other kids always had something over on me because I was the adopted kid. My sister, brother, and I were all adopted. We never got to forget it because my brother was the only black kid for as far as the eye could see. We had no shot at looking like typical siblings. Kids asked all of us, "Why didn't your mom and dad want you?" As if any of us had a fucking clue. I'm a Gen Xer. Absentee parenting was all the rage back then. We had to go outside and stay there until we were gone long enough to prove we were hungry. We traveled across my small town in packs. Kids of all ages, bored out of their minds, trying to find something fun to do or someone who was fun to pick on. It was like Lord of the Flies on the mean streets of small town New Jersey. I had to keep the peace so I didn't get hurt. Keeping the peace meant trying to prevent anyone from picking a fight and trying to make sure if they did, that at least some of the kids would think they were an asshole for doing it. It didn't matter if a kid started shit for a good reason or if they were just trying to puff up by stomping on somebody else. Either way, someone had to disrupt the natural order and someone had to pay for it. If the kid lashing out could be made to look like a dick for doing it, or if the kid getting hurt could be made to look worthy of defending, there was a shot at nipping it in the bud. And that was my job. I tried to keep the hurt from spreading like wildfire. I tried to keep the kid doing the hurting from looking cool enough for kids to back him up, and I tried to keep the kid getting hurt from looking weak enough for everyone to join in the pile-on. It was easy to tell which kids had a natural sense of justice. They were the ones who weren't so fucked up yet that they were still able to be objective. Those kids were useful in my efforts, and I leaned on them as much as I could. The kids who were reactive and stupid were the scariest to me, because they were the hardest kids to play for peace. They were slower to trust you and faster to hurt you. They also needed a translator. They needed a whole other person to help them find a place in the group, someone to help them feel secure enough without looking weak and seen enough without needing to be a jerk for attention. They were used to being the shithead, and that was a hard habit to help them break. Keeping the peace was a big fucking job. Every day we had a lot of hours to kill and not a lot of kindness to be shared. Kids made fun of each other incessantly. That's how we were taught to communicate. We thought relationships were always tenuous, that having a friend hang you out to dry was just a part of friendship. Keeping the peace meant I had to be inside the heads of a bunch of kids all at once, while not making myself the lightning rod for even trying. The thing is, back then, being a liar and an asshole wasn't unusual, but if you framed it correctly, it could be made to look generally uncool. All we had to entertain ourselves was the neighborhood pack, so the kids who made it not fun, the kids who fucked up the games or pissed everyone off, had a big impact on the day. I wore being adopted on my sleeve because, believe it or not, it was useful. It was the thing about me that made me vulnerable. I realized pretty early on that being vulnerable disarms people who are afraid of being vulnerable. I had the short stick already, so kids felt safe they wouldn't draw it. I was so little, but I was smart. I was smart, but I wasn't superior. There were times when my diplomacy blew up in my face, or in my brother's face. If I couldn't keep the peace and disarm the bully, it was always my brother who'd be the target. It was fucking hard. But back then, for some reason, truth still mattered. Not being an asshole all the time still mattered. The thing that scares me so much about today is truth doesn't matter, and being an asshole is often the point. The bully who's not so smart has no desire to be respected or included at all. They love the fringe. They love ruining it for everyone. MAGA doesn't want to get along. Their whole brand is based on not getting along. If they get along, they fail. If they exist in a disparate group without shivving the other people, they aren't MAGA. If they don't like the game the group wants to play, they make up another game and try to bully people into playing it. If they don't like the facts or the rules or the norms, they replace them with new ones, inevitably shittier ones based on might, not right. And that's all they need, folks. It's not about communicating or bridging gaps or sharing vulnerability. It's about making the world around them easier to live in without having to use their brains or their compassion. Maybe it's because they never grew out of being afraid of each other. Or maybe it's because nobody ever showed them enough vulnerability to disarm them. Or maybe it's because they learned somebody's always got to get hurt. That's the natural order of things today. For whatever reason, it kills the group. It kills the peace. It ruins the fun. It turns everything to shit. And it's so damn easy and lazy and cowardly, and it's so damn selfish. I don't try to keep the peace with MAGA anymore. I learned pretty quickly how futile that was. But I have to say, it scares the shit out of me, because I was pretty fucking good at finding ways to keep the peace. And I don't see any from where I'm standing.